Hello and welcome to part 2 of our directory tutorial. And in today's video, we're going to be working on this item page, which is basically each individual page for each item that is displayed, as you can see. So yeah, let's get started. So now we're going to do some dynamic routing. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a file in the pages folder and just call it name in square brackets .tsx. So this is basically going to act as the dynamic page, the dynamic route for each item that you see on the home page. So for each directory, this is the page that gets displayed. So I'm just going to start with generic hello world. But what we're going to do is we're going to display all these details in this page. So first we're going to just import the data. Obviously, usually you'd be importing this from a database, but I'm just importing it locally for the purpose of this tutorial. But in the next episode, I'm going to be showing you how to actually link this to a database. So yeah, first we're going to just start by creating a getStaticPath function. And we're going to create the paths, which we're going to do by just mapping over the data list. And then these are the parameters we're going to return. So each path we're going to return is basically the name of each website. Sorry, the name of each directory website. So what we're going to do now is we're going to return the paths which we've generated statically. But this is all happening on the server side. Even the data is stored locally. But this is the same kind of sequence of functions, getStaticPaths and getStaticProps that you would use on the pages router. In the new app router, it's done a bit differently, but we'll talk about that in a new video. So yeah, in the getStaticProps part now, what we're going to do is create each item, which is again based on the data list that we've imported. And we're just going to filter it. Just going to do an if statement to see if there are no items are returned. Just to return not found true. Otherwise, return to return item as a prop now. Next, we need to import use router. And this is again going to be used to route our pages. So we're going to create our router now. So it's called cont router equals use router. And now we're going to pass our item as a prop. And now if you console log the item, you can see that for each individual page, we are now fetching the data from the data list for each corresponding page. So as you can see, this is Google. And now if we go to another one, another page, so myself for example, as you can see, this is the same. It's the corresponding page for each item in the directory array. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just display the item.name, just again for purposes, display purposes, so you can see exactly. Cool. Now we're fetching the correct data. We're going to start designing the layout. But before we do that, we're going to say if the router is fallback, just to display return loading. This is what happens when the data is still loading. But this is server-side rendering, so the data tends to load incredibly fast. And again, in the next video, when I actually do connect this to Firebase, I'll show you how everything loads super fast and the true benefits of server-side rendering. But now, for now, let's just start styling our div. So we're going to style the main component, the main container div for the page. We're going to give it some Tailwind classes as you see fit. So width full, padding on the y-axis of 8, minimum height screen, add a gap, flex property, flex row on larger devices and flex column on mobile devices. I'm also going to do some mobile padding, which is 4. Medium screen size padding, which is 40, and mobile screen size padding, which is 4. And I'm going to create so the page is split into 2 sides, the left side and the right side. So what we're going to do is first is create the left hand side, create the right hand side. So this is why we have the flex row property, so both divs can be sat nicely next to each other. So this left hand div, we're going to give it the width of 2/3 of the screen. And we're going to give it also flex properties and flex column, so everything's aligned in a column as opposed to a row. And the right hand side, we're going to give it the width of 1/3. I'm also going to give this the flex property of flex column. On mobile devices, it's given width 4. I'm going to add some borders now so you can see. So split nicely. So now I'll add another class, which will be our title container. I'll give it some more Tailwind properties. So this is the image container div, which is going to display our logo. And we are using a custom class, CSS class image container that we created in the previous video. And this will be our actual logo image, which I also have made in the previous video. And here is where we give this div the background image of the logo. And this is just to ensure that the aspect ratio maintains consistent across all logos, because obviously all logos are going to be different sizes. But if we employ this tactic, it always comes out perfectly. So now I'm going to wrap this logo container in another div, because we want our logo and our text to be side by side. So again, we're going to use the flex row properties, so we can have our title and our logo sitting side by side. So now we're just going to create our title, which will literally just be item.name. So yeah, now let's just add some classes to make this title stand out a bit more. So I'm going to make it 4XL in terms of size. And then tracking tight as well. I'm going to make the font semi-bold. As you can see, the logo image here is quite larger. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a logo container, copy this class, and just call it page. So here we can actually make the icon a bit larger. So let's give that 55px for the height and the width. And change this, yeah, that looks a lot better. Now we're going to add the description, so just call it item.description. We're going to give this some classes as well. I'm going to create a link tag, which we've imported from the Next.js link library. I'm going to create a button here that will take us to the website. And again, all this data we're just fetching from our data list.js. I'm going to use target blank so to ensure that when this link is clicked, it opens in a new window. Yep, and now let's add some classes to style our button. So I'm going to use width max to ensure that it just maintains the width of the contents within the button. I'm going to add a transition all for hover effect. Text white. Flex row, because we want to add an icon. So we use flex row to ensure that the icon and the text sit side by side nicely, and item center to ensure that they're aligned on a center. Gap 2 to add a gap between them. And hover effect here. Change the background to grey. 100 on hover. And change the background color to black. Add some padding on the x-axis. And make sure the button is rounded as well. So now we just need to import the arrow from our React Icons library. I'm just going to paste that in right there. Yeah, that looks great. Next, we're going to work on the image. So create another div right underneath that one. And give it some padding on the y-axis of 4. And use the img tag. I'm just going to import image, item.image. Close that off. Before that, we'll add some classes. To add a border, make that image rounded. LG. Make it object cover to ensure that the image's aspect ratio is displayed correctly. Great. So now I'm going to create another div underneath this image, which will contain the text that we saw. So we're just going to create item.content. We're going to add some classes to this. So for the benefits section, what we've done is, because we wanted to display some text in bold, which will be the title of the bullet point, we've actually used HTML rather than just normal strings. So what we need to do now is to actually display this. We'll do that in a second. I'll show you how we're going to do that, but for now we're just going to create that key, that little line of text. Then we'll just dynamically render the text, the title, sorry, so we'll just do item.name. Great. I'm just going to copy that class to maintain consistency. That's great. And now as well, we're going to create that unordered list. And we're going to style this list now. We're going to add list disk to make sure the bullet points are displayed. So we're going to do item.benefits.map. here's how we display HTML now. So we're going to get each benefit and the index of each benefit. We're going to open curly braces now rather than rounded braces because we want to do a function here. Before that, let's just add the classes to the li tags. I'm going to do dangerously inline HTML. And here's how we're going to display the HTML now. Perfect. I'm just going to copy the styling to maintain consistency again. And that's good. Next after that, we're going to create the links in the category section. So again, let's create another container div. We'll give the properties of flex, MD, flex row, otherwise flex column. We're padding on the y-axis again of 2. Again, we're going to do width of 1/2. In medium devices and on smaller devices, we do the width of 4. I'm going to copy this and paste this underneath. So 1 will be the left hand side, which will be the links. On the right hand side will be the categories. Obviously, let's add some class names as well now. Let's go with the default semi-fold. And 2XL. I can copy this and just paste it within our next one. Change that name to category. Sweet. I'm going to display each item. Item.link.map. So for each link item. So we're mapping through that and just displaying each link item. And this is where we need to do some. I'm going to create both the text and the link and the URL and the text. So we're going to fetch that. We're going to extract that from the objects.entries. Link item. So we're going to extract the text and the URL from each item. And we're going to return this. We're going to use a flex. Yep. So this is how we're going to display the link and the text. So the link icon and the text side by side. Hence why we're using flex row. Yep. So now you can see the link item. I'm going to add a bit of padding to the container div. Yep. You can see the link item. I'm going to give this, change the color of this one. Give it text gray, 400. Now we're going to display the link URL, and within that, we're just going to type text. As you can see, again, we're going to use the target blank to ensure that it opens in a new tab. So I'm going to copy the relative, no open and no referral. because it's quite a pain to spell that. But yeah, there we go. So now when we click that, open the new link, perfect. Now we just need to display the last emoji, so this little arrow icon. And we'll do that just by simply importing the arrow. Just go arrow upright. And again, we'll add some classes to it. Yep, add a margin top to make sure it's aligned nicely. So next we're going to head over to the category side. It's a lot more straightforward. Display item.category. Yep, so we're just going to display the emoji now. And just change the color to make it. Next, we're going to do the related topics. So over this. We're going to use some more flexbox properties. We'll just copy the title. I'm just going to rename it to related topic. So we've added flex wrap to ensure that if the items do overflow, they'll just wrap onto the line underneath. That's what flex wrap does. Yep. So we use item.related.map. And for each item, it's going to display the item. Perfect. Actually put that in the wrong place, so I'm just going to put it into here. Great. And again, we're just going to display the icon now. Change the color, text gray 400, just to maintain consistency again. Nice. The final thing we're going to display is the cards, the related. So again, we're going to use the same container div settings. So I've just copied the inline text because it's just easier, but now I'm going to replace the P with the H1. And I'm going to replace, yep. I'm going to replace this with H1, yeah. And now I'm just going to copy the relevant text from the other side. So now what we need to do is we actually need to change. We need to fetch the related items. We're going to do that from the getStaticProps function. What we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called related items. Which is equal to data list dot filter. So basically going to filter through each item, and if the items have the same category, we're going to pass them as well as a prop into our page component. So for related items.category is equal to item.category. And just to ensure that the same item doesn't come up, we want to say it's not related.name is not equal to related item is not equal to item.name. Exactly. Just to ensure that we don't want the same item to be displayed, and we only want two related items, hence we're going to slice 0 to 2. And then we can just pass this again as a prop. Yep, same way as before. And we can now map through this to display each related item. So let's create our container. So properties of flex and flex row. Create a little gap between both cards. Now we want to map through related items, so related items.map. So yeah, we're just going to import a card, which is a component that we made in the last video as well. I'm just going to pass again item as a prop. And there you have it. Each card displayed perfectly. As you can see, they share the same category. So the next and final part is we're just going to do the right hand side, which is how we split the page up earlier into left and right hand column. So yeah, for now, we just added product details just so you can see. But yeah, now let's actually style this. So let's add some padding. Height max, bit of border color, grade 200. Make it rounded edges. Make the background white. Yeah, and next we can just do the items underneath. So we're going to use the flex properties. Add a gap. So we're going to add the emoji here, the icon, sorry. We're going to wrap that in a div with p tag, sorry, of the flex properties, and then we're going to just add the text that we need. So we should say category. And then we need to create that line separating both sides. It's the HR line. And there's also some CSS classes. So I just do, I'm going to add flex grow, which just means it will fit the remaining width of the div. And then we'll give it some margin sides on each side, sorry, and the border grey, which is literally to ensure the color of the line changes. Just copy. Here we'll just add item.category. Great. I'm just going to copy this and paste it 3 times because it's a similar process to the rest of the 2. I'm just going to change that. So it's added and rating, which is literally the same process. I've copied the title, product details. Change the name of the title. I actually pasted it in the wrong place, I've noticed. That's better. I'm just going to go through repository details. Now we're going to create some closed divs. So we're going to create a div that just wraps around the items, the repository detail items. So here we're just trying to map through the technologies that I used. Again, we're going to wrap this in another container that says flex and use flex row because we want the items to sit side by side. This item here is what we're going to use to display the little small color icon, which is going to have the height of 2 and the width of 2. I'm going to round it full to make it a full circle. And then we're going to use the style to give it color. I want to copy that into a p tag. Just maintain the consistency of the text throughout. And finally, we're going to add the percentages. Yep, finally, the button. So we can include that in the same div. But we're just gonna add the same technique that we've been using, which is the flex. Border, make it rounded. Yep, add a transition for the effect. For the horror effect, sorry. And I'm just going to include the GitHub icon. And that's our button finished. And yet, there you have it. That's our page complete. A little bit of a gap, that increased gap between the left and the right side. Yeah, that's a lot better. And yeah, that looks like that's our page finished. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to actually connect all this data to a database and then fetch it and display it. And yeah, look forward to the next one. Thank you guys. Bye.